Ladies and gentlemen, pack your virtual bags and grab your gaming gear because our first guest is a jet-setting juggernaut, a relentless globetrotter, and an unstoppable force in the FPS arena. He's taken down targets from the far reaches of Soulbound to the heart-pounding world of Shrapnel. Before dominating the digital battlegrounds, he was slaying it in the sporting goods scene. You know, we got to welcome to the stage the lethal legend, the sharpshooter of Shrapnel. It's Douglas.
Double's the greatest. Oh man, I freaking love it, dude. Great to be here. I'm loading up the Sandbox now. If anyone wants to meet me, I'm going to the Playboy land. I saw my Rabbitaur, and vibes are right. Let's freaking get it.
Are the Bitcoin vibes flying in the Sandbox? We have to know. Give us the update. Also, anybody who wants to give a shout out to our brand new sponsor, Star Atlas, in the comments, give them a tag. Tell them thank you for supporting content in Web3 gaming. If you like gamified, you gotta like Star Atlas and what they did for us. Big shout out, and I would love to see some big love for them in the comments. I'll try to give out some rewards. I didn't have time to think about this ahead of time. I'll give out $100 of AVAX out of my own pocket or something like that. And up next, right on cue, crafting killer content that captures hearts and conquers algorithms. A king of content and captivating attention in 2019 when this captain of clicks, Jesus, I said cap a lot in that, clinched the coveted crown of Search Engine Marketer of the Year. And there was an award show. If there was an award show for it in Web3, he'd win it in 2024 for his work with Avalanche and Off the Grid. He's the prince of page rankings, the master of memorable merchandise, and the archangel of Avalanche from AVAX. It's Coop.
Yo, thanks, Sam. Happy to be here as always.
Big hugs, Coop. And once upon a time, he was dousing fires, but now this guest is hosing down hopes and dreams with a sharp insight and honesty. When he's not here astounding audiences, he's busy at Uptick as a performance marketing mastermind and salesman to the stars, weighing in at 6'5", 230 pounds. Let's see if he can tip the scales in his favor, or if he'll fall victim to the shark-infested waters on this legendary panel. Give it up for the multi-talented. It's Jerry, the Golden God singer.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Happy to be here. Hey, shout out to Star Atlas and congrats to you, Sam. That's two of I didn't know you that was the mystery bachelor in the old corner there. But two of my favorite people, you and Michael coming together is gonna be a beautiful thing, man. Congratulations.
Thanks, bro. Super excited to have an amazing gaming partner going forward. And up next, prepare yourselves because this next guest is crunching numbers by day and leveling up by night. When he's not balancing books, he's busy balancing gameplay mechanics as a diehard Web3 gamer and consultant. With over 100 game reviews under his belt, including those obscure titles you've definitely never heard of, he's the guru of ultimate. He's the ultimate under the radar game guru. Excuse me. Let's give it up for the ace, the accountant, the auditor. It's Gaspode.
Hello, very excited to be up here again and very excited for all the faces we're going to be seeing next week.
Dude, next week is going to be so freaking epic. I absolutely cannot wait. And up next, you got to steel yourselves because this man is here to set the stage on fire. He's the maestro of mayhem and the maverick who took Macau from a poker parlor to a powerhouse of high stakes. He doesn't just rewrite the rule book, he tosses it out, reinvents the game, leaves his competition in the dust. With a career packed with paradigm shifting projects, he's now making waves in Web3 with his latest venture, My Angry Yakuza Girlfriend. Brace yourselves for the rebel of rollouts, the titan of taboo, the founder who can't be bought, the one and only. It's Sinjin. And also the man who's asleep at his computer because it's also 4 in the morning.
You want me to be
for him.
Sinjin?
Oh,
fucking
yeah,
godless
passed up for a
wankers.
split second.
I love you, buddy. Welcome to the panel. I'm sure you'll get those endorphins running any second now. You'll be locked in no time. I'm gonna need you. I'm gonna need you on the Sandbox topic though, Sinjin. This is your meta, buddy. Next, this former Ultima Online pro didn't just grind for gear. He grinded his way through college by striking gold on eBay with video games. But don't let the midnight mystique fool you. His career's been nothing but anything but dark. Excuse me. From investment banking to founding and exiting 3 startups, he's illuminated every corner of the corporate galaxy. With 15 years of experience in publishing and developing games, plus 5 years spent moonlighting as an investment banker, this man has orchestrated more than 50 deals, turning corporate chessboards to his personal playground. So get ready to burn the midnight oil with the dungeon diving, gold mining, future shaping force of nature from Midnight Studios. It's Steve Wade.
Thanks, Sam. I'm just a jaded romantic here on the Web3 journey.
Just a jaded romantic. I think that describes pretty much all of us, depending on the day in Web3, buddy. But great to have you back. And up next, get ready to enter the Matrix, folks, because our next guest isn't just creating a game; he's unleashing an AI-fueled fantasy land. From character quirks to colossal landscapes, Michael O'Connor is stacking multiple forms of artificial intelligence into Today the Game, creating an immersive ecosystem where avatars live, breathe, and evolve in mind-bending ways. Back in his Nintendo days, he drove blockbusters like Yoshi's Woolly World and Super Smash Bros. To household name status. Now he's building a playground where AI powers everything from architecture to personalities. Fresh off the Mystic Seeds launch with every test expanding the possibilities. Buckle up and give a warm welcome to the maestro of machine minds, the architect of AI adventures. It's Michael O'Connor.
Thank you very much. Great to be here as always. Great to chat. Really cool panel today. Some different guests as well. I think I'm sharing a panel with a few people here for the first time, so I'm very happy to get into it. And what an amazing time it is for crypto and crypto gaming. So the future is increasingly bright.
Feels great, man. I see Koji down there trying to come up. Koji, I'm not sure if you're a speaker. Can you please talk? And if not, then we have bugged out because it says you're requested, but I accepted you at the same time. So maybe just close the app and come back. And in the meantime, while Koji figures that out, my co-host, the lovable lizard that's always leaping into lively discussions at just 2.4 pounds. He's the legend with a larger than life presence. It's my co-host, the man who just launched Lizcoin. It's Lems.
GM, everyone. Like, I guess we're truly so fucking back. Bitcoin's like over 90. Hopefully I didn't just jinx it. And now the show has like 200 listeners right now. Like, the bull is so on. Like, gaming is so back.
Damn, Koji, I saw you leave and then come back. I still can't invite you somehow. I'm not sure what's going on, buddy. I'm gonna try to figure that out in just a second once we get our first topic introduced. I'll give him a quick intro because I'd be remiss. Koji's a fucking legend. Our guest isn't just gaming royalty; he's a visionary who took Parallel, the world's top NFT trading card game, from a promising project to an international sensation. Once a rock star, he traded guitar solos for digital domination. Now orchestrating the strategic symphonies that have created Tau Ceti, a 3v3 extraction shooter, and the newly beta launched Wayfinder, which aims to change the way crypto's engaged with forever. Think that's enough? Well, you're wrong, because he's crafting a crescendo worthy of Sin City itself with a $500,000 parallel tournament culminating in Las Vegas in March next year. You know I'm going to try to be there before GDC. That's going to be absolutely incredible. It's the card kingpin, the Prince of Parallel, and the unofficial office supplier of Gamified. It's Koji. And hey, Sam, great to see you. And today's going to be a great show, but fuck something, because he always says something. There's something mean in there somewhere. Anyway, we move on before we dive in first into the high octane pixel pounding pandemonium that is Gamified. Let's take a moment to acknowledge the real powerhouse making it all possible. It's Avalanche, the official blockchain of Gamified. I'm fresh off the AVAX summit in Buenos Aires, where I learned all about Avalanche 9000, how they're making it easier, cheaper, and more feature-packed than ever to deploy your very own layer 1 blockchain and clap the competition. I'm telling you guys, if you're building a game, it needs to be on AVAX. Imagine owning your very own block space where your community validates your chain and your own token fuels the gas. Remember that Avalanche is the engine powering Gamified. And god damn, I've been waiting to give this one out. At Gamified, we aim to be the best show in Web3 every single week, and no one embodies that cosmic ambition quite like our new sponsor and the official game of Gamified is Star Atlas. This high-fidelity space titan has been blasting through Web3 gaming's galaxy with optimal player ownership and top-notch tech, like having over 1,000 concurrent players in a single environment during their closed Surge beta playtest. Plus, live right now is the Golden Carnival, a party with legendary loot totaling $4 million in prizes. So get those golden tickets for the official game of Gamified. Thank you to Star Atlas for sponsoring our voyage through the gaming universe. And last but not least, let's high five the force field that's keeping your digital assets growing. Our sponsor, StarNet, the official infrastructure of Gamified. StarNet is the next generation ad network powering $100 billion spent per year on user acquisition. So instead of being owned by Google, Facebook, StarNet is taking the grassroots approach to UA. Join the revolution of ad tech, and let's jump into the very first topic of the day. Sandbox is giving out their Sandie Awards, topical name there, to their best creators that are in their ecosystem. But the question here is, does anybody really care about what's going on with Sandbox? And if not, why? Sandbox has seemingly become a joke in the past 2 years. What would you need to see from them in order for your opinion to shift? I know it's easy to dunk on them. I do it as much as the next guy. but I'm curious how we get to dispel this idea, because at the end of the day, it's a voxel game with tons of development, an enormous amount of UGC, seemingly at least an okay-ish player base, infinite assets. They've been in Web3 for a long time. Clearly, they have enough money to do basically whatever the hell they want, celebrity endorsements and all the other things. So what do we need to see? Is it millions of DAU? If they came over to you and said, hey, we've got 10 million people playing this game, would you all of a sudden completely shift your opinion? Is it the asset price going back up to $7? It's currently at 28 cents, but at one time it was an all-time high of $7 and like a $8 billion market cap or something like that. What do you need to see from these people? I'm going to send it over to Coop first.
I think the thing that they seem to be missing is like a heartfelt community that loves it or loves them. And I just don't see them. And I think for most gaming projects in the space, the reason they ultimately have hype is because they have these people that just love it. They're like obsessed with it. They think it's the next big thing. And I just don't see that very much for them. And I'm not sure why. Maybe they're there and they're just not on my timeline, but that to me would stand out. I just don't hear people saying I love it.
Yeah, it's a good point. It's been a while since I heard anybody actually glaze it on the timeline outside of somebody that was employed by the company. Koji able to get on finally as a co-host. We were able to finesse our way around whatever the hell is going on with Twitter and his account. Let's go over to Dub next. Dub, what do you need to see from Sandbox to put some respect on that name?
Dude, just give us some fun. I mean, I don't see the fun. I never experienced the fun. And a big part of that is multiplayer instances, and having more better gel or more Roblox like. I mean, they're still not fully there on the experiences themselves from what I've tested lately. Maybe that stuff's changing, but regardless of Snoop Dogg or some sort of mutant ape, I'm not interested in just going and experiencing that anymore because it's been played so much by them already.
I'm curious, Dub, because you've played these games so much. Is Sandbox a game that you've put 20, 30, 50 hours into, or is it something you just kind of dabbled in from afar?
2 years ago, very much, at least 40 hours. I remember doing a 6-hour live stream of it and being really impressed with myself with pulling that one off. And grinded some other, I've experienced all their experiences from Avenged Sevenfold to the Playboy one that I joke about, the Rabbids experience, which was the best they ever had. It just never went very far beyond that. So I think it's the core gameplay experience itself, not IP and that kind of stuff. That's still not there for me.
I want to get the founder's perspective now. Let's send it over to Michael O'Connor. Michael, what do you need to see? And you've been so good about kind of driving consistent value back to your holders with Today the Game, even without a live service game. How do you think they could begin to sort of turn the ship around here?
Well, I think it's important to note some of the things that they've done well. They've been able to obviously keep the ship sailing, during lots of negative publicity, the Web3 game circles, largely just kind of shitting on it the whole time. But they've managed to always maintain a strong FDV on their token. They've also had huge amounts of success in attracting commercial partnerships. And you can say for better or worse on this, right? They really focused on, the metaverse, which was a massive narrative in the last cycle. They really honed in on that, and they were like, "We're going to be the metaverse team," and that's going to be, almost first and foremost about bringing in tons and tons of people into the metaverse. And when I say people, I mean brands and stuff like that. That's what they really focus on, and they've been fucking amazing at doing that. Like as good as any company in the world, Web 2 or Web 3, working in digital technology. They've brought so many people in, and particularly massive in fashion. Now, I know that some of them may have been a bit disappointed because, they didn't have the players. But now what that's done is that's given them the ability to have loads and loads of capital available. They've taken huge amounts of investment, and that gives them the ability to build. They really need to build because there hasn't been a huge amount of gameplay in there before. The tools, I understand, I'm not the biggest fan of these type of games in general, but the tools were not exactly the most intuitive or easy to use. But I think it's also important to remember that like it took Roblox a decade or something like that to achieve even kind of like a modest levels of like monthly active users. It takes a while to quite a good while to be able to try to build an experience like Roblox or like the Sandbox are doing. So they're on it, their own journey, and I think that a lot of people who are looking at it are saying, "Well, listen, you know what? For better or worse, they're the best opportunity inside of Web3 for there to be a Roblox competitor. And Roblox is just so goddamn massive, if that's true. And if it's able to attract 5% of the Roblox market, I mean, that's just enormous. What do they have to do to get there? You know, I think there's a couple of things. I mean, like the fact is I think everyone knows, and I'm sure that they know as well. I know Sebastian, I recently interviewed him on the Next Level series that we do. And, you know, they know that they got to build more intuitive tools, and they know that they're going to get more people building cool games in there and build that community out. Um, but yeah, I would be. I'm not as negative about what they're doing as I think a lot of people. They're on a different type of trajectory, and I think that the space for the kind of thing that they're building.
Great stuff. Appreciate that perspective. I'm excited to be able to bounce back and forth between founders and people that have played the game quite a bit. I assume Gaspode has as well. Real quick, I'm going to go to the comments. Metamona says Sebastian's vision for the Sandbox has always been UGC, UGC, UGC. I'm wondering personally, Mona, if there's a chance that at any point in the near future they change it to UA, UA, UA and see what it's like to have 5 million people actually get in the game at some point. With that being said, Jonah says Sandbox dead as a doorknob, and Icy says Sam's breath control is insane. Tyrus says Koji could be. He was talking, but I couldn't hear him somehow. So sorry, Koji, if everybody was having a conversation with you and I was just bullying you because the account wasn't working. Let's go over to Gaspo, then we'll tag in Steve Wade.
Yeah, so I've only played a couple. I haven't really got deep into it. Every now and then I get reached out by a game saying you should come take a look at this. I think before kind of saying what it needs, I think the problem is that like it's a splintered vision. So what Michael was saying about they managed to bring loads of different people in, I think they've all come in with their own idea of what it's going to be, you know, selling the lands in the game, all sorts of bits within it. And I think that's what's making it difficult to really get that core community that was mentioned behind it, because everyone's kind of pulling off in different directions. I think even a good game being built in there would be good for that game that builds in there. But I think the overall kind of ship of it is too heavy for a single game to pull out. I think you'd need to see a few games to try and kind of lift it up and start changing its image, because it's definitely got a very boomer meme of the start kind of out of touch image at this point. And to touch on what it would need to do to kind of change that view really is to see someone I know or a community I know showing they love it and are playing it regularly and bringing people on consistently. And for the overall project, so it's not just, you know, benefiting one game that's managed to build in there. They'd need to be enjoying it across multiple different games that's being built on there. So multiple different bits of UGC that people are actually interested in. So I think it needs lots of successful balloons to lift it up. I think even one game just wouldn't be enough. It would just be good for that one game, and then everyone would probably tell them to go and build it on their own and leave Sandbox, to be honest.
One of the things that I'm not sure about from the game developer side too is it actually that difficult to create one of these voxel games? Whenever you look at it, it's always sort of unimpressive whenever you just kind of absorb what it is. But I don't know from the development side. Steve Wade actually specializes in buying like AA games. I'm curious if you can give us some perspective. Is it that expensive to build the Sandbox from scratch?
I'll give you actually a great example. So there is a voxel RPG called Trove. I don't know if anyone is familiar with Trove. We built that game for less than $5 million. It's now generated probably close to $100 million in a lifetime, but it's actually I would say the simplest type of game to make. I would also jump on Gas Pro's comment. I don't think that they're in the MMO space, the metaverse space. I would agree that this game would be better standalone. You take voxels and you make a bunch of AA games. I think that would be a better market for them than trying to make something large. But you know, going back to their tokens staying well. Like, I when I was tracking game projects, I think the last time I tracked was in August of 22. They were one of the blue chip tokens, right? They've maintained a good price. They have plenty of cash. These voxel games don't cost a lot of money to make, so I think they'll be around for a little bit longer. Whether they actually have fun games, I don't know. I think, to other people's points, they're really good at partnerships. They're decent at marketing. Even, with bullets coming at them, they've maintained a decent price where they hadn't had to sell, right? There's no selling pressure on them because they don't have I would assume, not a huge run or burn rate like some of the other companies like a Rev or whatever that mech game was. Um, Final thing I'll say, because I think the original question was like, what do we think about them creating a award? Um, you know, Awards are PR 101. When you need to create attention, you just make an award. It kind of reminds me of that meme of President Obama when he was giving himself a medal, like the Nobel, like after he shot missiles at the moon. Like that's just,
Truly the Sandbox experience, them awarding themselves. Somebody in the comments, Evolved, is asking what is the Sandbox, and that reminds me, if anybody's newer to the space over the past year or two, it's completely possible it's just completely missed your radar. It is still one of the biggest gaming tokens by market cap. However, they've kind of somehow again just sort of avoided getting out of their own echo chamber, is maybe the best way to put it. Let's go over to Mizzy, and then we'll go to Jerry.
Yeah, I think in our space it's kind of cooked as far as the perception amongst the gamers. I don't want to blow smoke up their ass or anything, so I'm gonna be honest. Like, it's a horrible experience from my perspective. However, like when I tell normies that I'm in like crypto gaming, Web3 gaming, whatever you call it, the normies that try to act like they know about games, they always bring up Sandbox, and that's like my indicator on how much of a noob they are. But I do think that there is like some legs there in like the normie retail crowd as they continue to grow. I also think there could be a play. Like, I think the initial question was, what could they do? I guess to like turn around the ship. I guess one thing that they could do is like memes. We're like in the degenerate cycle of the meme where everyone wants to see price go up and like no utilities required. But we all know how like the meme cycles play out. I would say about like halfway to the final half of the bull cycle, all of a sudden everyone wants memes to have utility. I could kind of see Sandbox building a fandom around that because memes are so normie centric over the long term period for like the successful ones. So maybe they could kind of team up with them to create like mini games around those memes or their tokens or whatever it may be. I think at this point it's purely like a retail normie centric kind of play. I don't really see it like ever resonating with like the core community that we already built here, but there's still plenty of space for it to grow.
Great take, Mizzy. Let's go to Jerry, then we'll tag in Koji for the first time.
Yeah, I think what the Sandbox needs to do is find an identity and stick to that. And because it doesn't, when you look at the Sandbox, it's like I view them and I'm like, what do they want to be? Do they still want to be this metaverse play, or like what is it? And we're asking that question years after they've kind of started to ship things, and they're great at partnerships. That they deserve credit for that, but they haven't been great at finding a reason to stick around and want to actually go into the world that they're attempting to build. And they have like a double faceted problem in that they have a user acquisition problem, whereas if they go actually try to acquire users, their retention is going to get hammered. Like I would actually tell them, like, don't don't do UA because you're going to retain nobody. But they also have a developer acquisition problem, because why would you want to go build in the Sandbox right now if you're a developer and you focus on Roblox or Fortnite or Fortnite Creative or whatever? You go and build in those worlds and those environments because they have distribution solved for you. You don't have to go do UA for a Roblox game. It's there for you. You just have to build the experience, and there's so many people playing it that it'll get discovered. And Roblox kind of has their marketing machine down. Sandbox doesn't have that. So, they have this problem of nobody wants to go build in the Sandbox, and so therefore nobody's going to want to go play in the Sandbox. And you can't just bring on like a developer or two to start to build in these UGC environments. You need to do that at scale, and they haven't done that at all. And when we look at Sandbox, it's the same thing it was 2 to 3 years ago. At least as far as I'm concerned, the game doesn't feel different. It doesn't look different. It doesn't play different. And I just asked the question of like, what have you been doing this whole time? And when are we going to start to see some of these changes? Because it's been a couple of years, and it doesn't feel any different to me. Whereas, Sam, you and I played Parallel at 3XP, 18 months ago or whenever that was, and we can see the progression that Parallel has made, or we can see the progression that a game like Today the Game has made, but nobody sees that with the Sandbox. So my question is, like, what have you been doing the whole time, and when do we start to get to see some of that? Because it's great that people have said, like, oh, it's going to take maybe it'll take them a couple more years, but like, what have you done with the last couple? So yeah, that's, I mean, my thing for Sandbox is like, how can they fix this? Start to find out who you want to be, and you know find a North Star and go towards that North Star relentlessly, right? That'll help your developer problem that you have within the game of nobody wanting to build in there except put their fucking brand logo somewhere, like on a sandbox plot. And then which will then, if you can bring in the developers, that will help you start to solve your user acquisition problem, and then you can maybe get somewhere. I think the fact that they still have as high of a market cap as they do shows like how much attention people stop paying to crypto, because I'm convinced that's all just in like idle wallets that haven't transacted in years.
Yeah, it's a really good point, Jerry. Whenever we look at off the grid, we say, well, it needs better performance and then it'll do better. Whenever we look at Parallel, Koji himself has said, well, it needs better UI UX and then it'll do better. But whenever we look at Sandbox, we're just like, what do you need? Like where do we go from here? And part of that is because in a voxel game where it's so UGC based, part of it is just booting it up and creating things. And so really, like, it's just you need better creator tooling then for a better creator experience, but I don't really see people asking for that either. So I'm just sort of at a loss for how they get out of this, because nobody seems engaged enough to even tell them what they want. Koji, I said I was going to go to you next. Are you good to speak? I still can't tell what's going on with Twitter.
Yeah, I think I'm here. Sam, thanks for having me. Great to be here. Fuck Twitter, or whatever, however that impression went. But yeah, man. First of all, I don't understand these games to begin with. Like even Minecraft and Roblox and all this other stuff. I'm just like, you want people to develop gaming experiences for you for free. It's like you're just asking people to absolutely decimate their mental health for no money. Seems crazy to me. Uh, but outside of that, it's just like, if we're honest with each other, you guys all know the takes when fucking Sandcoin or whatever the fuck it's called was at like $7. Everyone was like, yo, these guys are the fucking future. This game, you'll see, man. This is the metaverse. Like, you're gonna strap in there and like everyone's gonna be there. We're gonna experience concerts there, and we're gonna like people are gonna live there, man. People are gonna abandon their real life. And now that like if it starts pumping again, we'll all be talking about how, oh man, the metaverse is so real, and like the fucking narrative is shifted. These guys are so smart. They were playing the long game, whatever. Like, we exist in a space, and I know this is like firsthand, man. We exist in this space where like there's so many people willing to tell you how fucking great you are and how like your shit is like, you know, the next big thing when your token's on an upswing. But as soon as you know, the sentiment isn't there anymore, people are like, oh, these fucking idiots. And so I honestly think that like there's a lot they can do to turn this around. We've seen companies pivot before. Not that they need to do that, but like, uh, I mean, I don't know their financials, and everyone has already kind of said it. But the world is their oyster at this point. They can like come up with a whole bunch of different shit on top of the stuff that they've already built to make things more interesting. But of course, like, like everyone said already, user acquisition is the number one thing in an experience like this, right? Because you're building for to get attention, right? It's like a attention economy, and you need the eyeballs there. It's not like building the best shit ever in there is going to bring people in. It might help, but like you need the eyeballs there for it to like explode the way that you want it to. Like, as a musician, I used to lament that, like, oh, we weren't selling enough tickets or whatever, but like, this guy's so good at guitar or whatever. It's like, it doesn't matter how good you are. You can fucking fart in a kazoo. If you're selling out an arena, people are gonna be like, yo, that kazoo farter guy, what a fucking genius. Like, it's so I think that like really you just need the eyeballs, and then the rest will come.
Dude, nothing has ever made that point so clear to me as, do you guys remember whenever Psy, who made Gangnam Style, I didn't realize what a like giga celebrity he is. He sells out like 90,000 person arenas for like 4 back-to-back days in Korea. And his music is like pretty mid. You know, it's like memes, and it's incredible how it really is about your ability to sell, not actually produce a thing a lot of the time. Metamona says, we need to get Sebastian in here to clarify the direction for Sandbox going forward. I would welcome it. Bring Seabass in. Owen says estimated to have 1,000 daily active users, despite almost a $1 billion fully diluted value. With that treasury, they should be aggressively pushing new features and getting new players weekly. But the product is static. Problem is that the devs got all their money and without reward. Sorry, their $ rewards without actually shipping a decent product. Zero motivation there. Yeah, it does seem like most of the unlocks have happened. I think there's like 20% still to unlock, but definitely though they're eating very well regardless of how the game performs at this point. So there could be a
Sam,
misalignment.
sorry, real quick. I just want to say that like anyone who's like, oh, the devs have got their money, so they're fucking out. I mean, if that's true, then they weren't going to make a good thing to begin with, man. Anyone on this panel, anyone in this space making a game, you can all vouch for like if you were just in this space for money, there's way fucking easier ways to get money than try and make these fucking games. You know, like you have to care about it more than anything because it's so easy to just be like, fuck it, I'm out of here. So if that's true, then you were never going to get a good product. But I don't think it's true. I think that like no matter how much money they've made, they still, if they're decent people, they want to like live up to their word.
I certainly hope that's true. Owen, by the way, is the CRO at InfiniGods. Mad respect for him and his take on this. Former director of gaming at Meta, so he knows what he's talking about to an extent. Let me just double click on that really quickly, Koji. Do you think that's true even for Sandbox back in 2020, 2021, whenever it was like a mad dash to market because everybody knew Web3 gaming was going to be the narrative and they had to get this product out? Or is that only true for people that like launched in the bear market and have had a shitty experience?
No, I think it's true around like parallels are the perfect example, man. Like especially in the beginning, we were hitting the timing was like couldn't be better for all the stuff that we were doing. Like we were riding waves like it was crazy. I honestly wake up and go to sleep every day with a healthy dose, mind you, a healthy dose of dread, being like, we got to fucking do the thing we said we were gonna do, and like it's not as if like I'm not like the richest man in the world, but like I've been introduced to a bunch of things outside of parallel, just being in this space that have made me money, and I'm like I could just do this and make money, but like I really want to make the thing that I've always wanted to make, which is parallel, you know. So like I'm still here, which leads me to believe that like most people who are doing this thing are doing it for the right reasons.
I would love to see that, man. Let's send it over to Lems, and then we'll tag in Steve Wade for the last word before we move on. Real quick, though, Icy in the comments says he stands by this Sandbox experience, shouting out Captain Laserhawk, which is an Ubisoft IP, saying that it changed his perspective of the Sandbox. So maybe they are making some new stuff that's higher echelon. Let's go over to Lem.
I love Koji's optimism, and I feel like it's true for a subset of this market and like a lot of the people we have here on Gamified every week who are passionate about what they're doing. But man, I'm sure there's a lot of people who are just looking for an easy way to spin up some vaporware and sell a token and make a bunch of money. Not saying that's what that Sandbox did, but I just think that's pretty prevalent here in the space as well. But like, yeah, in terms of what Sandbox are doing, like I'm not the target market and target audience. Like this is not the kind of game I would play, but I can go weeks on end not even thinking about Sandbox, and this is from someone who's like terminally online and plugged into like Twitter and Discord and everything Web3, 16 hours a day or whatever it is. And I think Coop hit the nail on the head. Like I hadn't actually thought about it. They don't really have like this cult community who are out making noise, and like this is an attention economy. And if people aren't like out talking about their bags and creating that sort of content on the timeline and just talking about Sandbox all the time, like no one's going to give a shit. There's like way more projects now than there were in 21 as well. Like that's also the thing. There's so much more noise. There's so much more to cut through. You have all these other cultish communities to deal with. And so who knows what will come from it. Like, I know I was making jabs at the start of the space, but I'll put my hand up and say, like, I thought Star Atlas was dead after the whole FTX thing. And I'll put my hand up and eat those words. Like they pivoted, they adapted, they're still here, they're going strong. Like Sandbox still have, it seems like anyway, they still got runway and everything. They can totally still turn this around. But I would love to see them actually figure it out and do something and, regain relevance because they have all these strong partnerships and IP integrations and things like that. But yeah, as it stands right now, it's like, does anyone really care? Because like they don't have that cultish community talking about them all the time. And it sounds like a lot of it, from what people are saying, experience hasn't changed much. Like I haven't played in recent times either. Like, shout out Icy who said he was trying the most recent one. But like for the most part, I think people just see it as a relic from a past cycle, and they got to do some work to change that narrative and flip it on its head if they want to, stay relevant.
Well, Lems too. Like it seems to me like it's cool that they're doing an award because I think from my outside perspective, looking at the Sandbox is like they don't have a community that loves them, and they don't have a community that they seem to love either. And like when you're in that seat, you have to fucking love your community like Manuel Ferreira, like fucking loving somebody. You know what I mean? Like you and I just don't see that, right? And you have to pay so much attention, and like that's finely cultivated. And the reason they don't have a community that loves them is like I just don't really feel like they've ever loved their community back and given like wanted to give something that people can spend meaningful time in. And like maybe that's just like the ever optimist in me, like wanting to look at a game and hope that they have the right intentions. But like when you're in that seat, man, it's a lot of hard work, and there's a lot of days you get frustrated, and I feel like they just mail that part in a little bit. So I think the fact that they're trying to do awards for their community is a good first step, right? But you gotta it's a two-sided relationship, right?
That's a great point, Jerry. Let's tag in Steve Wade.
Oh, appreciate the tag. No, there's so many threads that go on in these Twitter spaces. Like if I didn't have AHE, I don't know if I could follow them all. But quite fantastic. I love all the topics bring up. One of the things that I had forgot to mention is in the metaverse space. Like I think Sand is just they haven't found their identity. I don't think anyone is going to end up playing that game the way it is. Right? It's not an MMO. It's not a metaverse. The one thing they had going for them is they were in the Web3 space first. Right? That was their claim to fame. I think that is gone, and I really don't think there's a way to recoup. But they do have probably plenty of cash, and they'll be able to pivot. Hopefully, they have the right people. But if you guys want to look at a metaverse game that's not Web3 yet, but I think they should pivot that way, is one called Manticore. They had raised close to $200 million. It looks very similar to Fortnite. And that's like I think that's an actual game people could get behind. So if anyone wants to take a look, I think that's a good project to look at. And also, speaking of Fortnite, you can now get sneakers in Fortnite, and you also get houses in World of Warcraft. Like those are games, those are matters, there's real value in there because people want to play them. I don't think you're going to shift people to these Web3 games that are just empty shells of empty shopping malls that don't really have anything that attracts actual users.
Dude, I saw the World of Warcraft house announcement. Interesting to see them revisit that after Garrisons were a failure. Coop and Jerry, I know you're my big WoW players. I just need a thumbs up or a thumbs down emoji. I just gotta know houses and WoW. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Mizzy gives it a thumbs down. Jerry and Coop say thumbs up. All right, that's a topic for another day. Michael O'Connor, you get the last word. Then we're moving on to the next topic.
Yeah, I just wanted to also mention that I think that maybe like it might be slightly underappreciated how big they are in France and probably in Europe broadly. I guess they're the biggest Web3 game in France, and like if you go to Paris Blockchain Week, NFT Paris, they have this huge representation at NFC Lisbon a couple of years ago. They threw they do these insane sponsorships. So they do give back to the community. They have loads of their developers that they fly in from all around the world, and they pay for stalls for them. So they're able to actually display the games that have been building there. I've met tons of them myself. Like in Lisbon, they threw a party last year. It was like fucking like Kendall Roy's birthday party. There was like dwarfs being fired out of cannons and fucking there was trapeze artists and shit, man. It was sword swallowing. It was nuts, I mean, like, and it was in this bizarre forest. So like that, it was. I remember thinking, "Well, crypto is bizarre," but that is happening, and there is a huge representation in Europe for what they're doing, for better or worse. So yeah, there is a community out there. Hey, I don't disagree with anything else though. Like, listen, the more stuff needs to happen. We need to see more cool stuff. Anyway, thanks very much.
I always love seeing more cool stuff. And real quick, guys, before we move on to our next topic, okay, there's a war going on in the streets of Web3, okay? On one side, we have a fleeting, bottomless scroll of memes, an endless cycle of 1 second laughs that evaporate faster than your motivation to go to the gym. So, soldiers of the screen, it's time to take a stand, retweet, share, spread the word, rally your friends to this space. If you love Web3 gaming, you want to see actual content that isn't just screaming about price action, go to the moon. Please, for the love of God, help us get the word out about the best space in Web3 gaming. And it's not the best space in Web3 gaming because of me and Lens, it's because this amazing panel gives us their time every single week and amazing insights. Appreciate you guys. Okay, agree or disagree, co-op is the key for indie games to break out. We're looking at a few different indie hits over the past year. We saw Lethal Company. They just hit 10 million copies sold. The inspiration for this topic. Palworld, over 12 million copies. A little bit of nuance there, obviously, with a lot of Pokemon IP infringement as well. And Steam, just on Steam, Helldivers cleared 12 million copies sold. That's Helldivers 2. Is co-op the marketing hack for indie games to break out, and specifically co-op experiences that kind of create these fun social interactions that are clippable and streamers can use them? I want to invite a friend because he would be funny to play this game with, those kinds of things. It seems like the ultimate growth hack from my point of view. Is there something I'm missing here? Why are more games not optimizing for these kinds of viral moments that end up leading to incredible sales numbers? Gaspod had the hand up first.
Yeah, I think in terms of it, I like the idea of the co-op and co-opetition, as I've heard it say, which sounds a bit horrible, but working together with your friends to maybe beat it, even like with the games where you're chained together, you're trying to get higher up faster than anyone else. And like you say, it does add to those viral moments. You get to shout at your friends. Obviously, playing games with friends is always fun, so that does help. If you can move your whole friend group onto a game, then you're going to have more fun than if you have to test it out on your own. I think my kind of negative to that is if a game ends up being only fun because you're playing with your friends, and that's something I've experienced in a couple of games kind of we've tested. I've had great time with my friends, and as soon as I played it on my own, I was like, why did we enjoy this? Was it just because we were chatting shit to each other? Then that isn't kind of unique to you as a game. So you can quickly lose that player if that friend group then moves on to something else. And friend groups will, if there's quite a few of them, they'll see a game they like, and as long as they're not arseholes, they'll probably give everyone a chance to pick the game. So it's good for bringing them in, but it's also quick to make them leave to another game if they want to keep playing with just their friends.
Yeah, it's a great point, man. I would say Chained Together was a game I played with Koji, and then I also played it with Peyton and Icy on another occasion. Definitely never booted it up to play it again by myself, but it was really fun with those guys. Let's send it over to Coop, then we'll tag in Koji.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's limited to indie. If you think about some of the biggest games, like you're playing in a squad or it's an MMO, I feel that social is just a really important part of games. It's what gets people to invite their friends to try it, and word of mouth is the most powerful kind of marketing out there. So having some sort of social aspect is really valuable to any game. But definitely, I guess for indies, it could be that hack that really helps them get out there when they don't have as much marketing spend. So I think that could be a factor as to why it's most important for indies is that word of mouth.
100%. Atreyu in the comments asks if we're going to be talking about Eve and Eve Frontiers coming into Web3. Not on today's episode, but if you go check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, any of the podcasts, anywhere, we are now there. Search Gamified. We have talked about it in the past if you want to hear these experts and their thoughts on it. Hugely exciting from my point of view, Eve Frontiers. But we're talking about co-op in gaming right now. Let's send it over to Koji. Koji, is this one of the most underutilized tools for making a game go I guess earning a bunch of free marketing, right? Everybody talks about, oh, you need $50 million to sell a game now. Well, it seems like you could just have one really entertaining gameplay loop, like chaining people together and making them go up high, and apparently that's enough to sell a fuck ton of copies.
Okay, well, I'll say this, man. It's definitely not free marketing because maintaining that shit is a nightmare. And it depends on the type of game, but you got to do stuff like maybe there's matchmaking involved. If there's not, if it's just co-op, then it depends on whether or not you're running it on a server and you want control over those things, or if they're just direct connecting to each other. There's just a lot of factors that you kind of have to juggle when you're doing some of this stuff. Whereas like some of these more indie developers, you just download the game, install it, run it, and that's all you ever need to do. To issue a patch is really simple. You don't need to worry about things being online or connection issues or whatever. Like I can even tell you from a parallel perspective, we're using a matchmaking service for the game initially, and they just kept going down, and it kept fucking us like terribly, to the point where we were just like, "Fuck it, we're just gonna do it ourselves," and like basically rewrote a lot of the matchmaking ourselves because we had to. But like that was a pretty costly endeavor, and if we hadn't raised a bunch of money up front, I don't know if we would have been able to like haul what we were doing and spend time doing that other thing, right? So it's not without its own challenges, and that even then the loop has to be, there has to be something interesting or enticing about the game enough that you want people want their friends uh to be in on it. But then also, of course, you have to schedule things with your friends. The reason why you and I haven't played More Chain together isn't because we were like, "Hey, that's fucking fun." It's just like, how often are we able to actually sit down together and play these things? Obviously, young people it's less of a challenge. But again, I mean, I'm rambling, but I think the idea is basically like it comes with its own issues, and I think that uh, making a viral hit that is co-op is no harder or easier than making a viral hit that doesn't have co-op.
Interesting. I don't know if I completely agree with that. I mean, obviously you're the expert in this situation, so I'll digress, but I feel like you might as well at least take a couple of shots on goal. I think maybe that's what I'm asking for, is if you're releasing a new game and you don't have a big marketing budget, but you're also not taking a shot on goal of having one of these things that people could just latch onto and go crazy with. It's like what are you doing? Because you don't have enough money to get it out by way of performance marketing, but you also don't have anything really like that scratches that itch in order to make it clippable to get earned marketing. So it just kind of feels like if you're going to go middle of the road, you're just fucked before you even get across the starting line.
But you have things like Dead Cells or Vampire Survivors or my beloved Binding of Isaac or whatever that like don't, I mean, Binding of Isaac literally added co-op like a year ago. So I think that like you probably don't necessarily need this stuff if the game is like enticing enough. It's just, I mean, it may make things easier, but there's problems on the back end, I think, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, fair play. Great examples there. Let's send it over to Steve Wade.
Yeah, I think the first thing, whether it's to Sinjin's point, whether it's indie, double A, triple A, quadruple A, social is the thing that continues to pay dividends, right? You can launch a single player game, it could do well. And I think that's where most people should start. Having a budget, understanding their audience. Like, I'm going to make this card battler game. Maybe it's got a single player story. Know that you're going to sell 20, 30,000 copies. If it's free to play, then automatically it has to be a social game. But if it's, it's a premium game, you can make a standalone game that runs on a platform that's single. But to other people's points, as you grow, if you want to keep on milking that game for money, like Vampire Hunter Survivors, right? 4-player multiplayer coming to that game, right? People will add multiplayer later on if it's fun, if it's worth it. But I think when you're developing a game, these indies out there should know their audience, know their genre, know their demographics, understand that if they spend X, they're going to make Y. You don't want to come in with a bunch of like feel good thoughts. I'm going to make this game and it's going to be a hit. Like, hits are 1 in 30 games for a developer. Blockbusters are 1 in 100. So if you think your first game, your indie title is going to be a hit, you're already set up for failure.
Mizzy, what say you, brother? Mizzy, my guy.
Yeah, can you hear me? There we go.
There he is.
I love it from the perspective of an indie developer because I do think it does market itself. A recent example that I had was when we were playing the Bornless at Catalyst. It's not like your traditional co-op. Like, you can technically enter the lobby without playing with like a friend, but the experience when I did it with my friends and it felt like a co-op style game was like 10x, right? It created way better content than I would have done if I was just like on a stream by myself. I think that there was a very like strong social aspect to that game that made me want to invite people. And it did lead to a lot of like fun clippable moments. I think my one concern about that is these games tend to have like a hype cycle, especially around like their early launches where, everyone kind of FOMOs to get the content, to get the clips, to be a part of the hype, and then they kind of do fizzle out. Like we've sort of seen that with like Chain Together. I made content around that. I saw, a bunch of the homies around the space making content around it, and then we all kind of just dropped it at the same time. I think if you understand that you're going to have hype cycles as a developer around this, and you almost like create expansion packs or patches that you throw into the game later on down the line to reinvigorate the excitement, I think you'll have something. But I do think it's like genius for marketing. Maybe it's something that you use for like the early loop of the game, and then it becomes more of an isolated experience later on, because a lot of gamers do like to kind of just like get in on the late night grind, do some stuff, and then go to bed. So I do think that every dev should really look at it though, because it is pretty genius.
It is indeed. All right, I'm going to knock out a couple of quick ad reads. It's tough sometimes whenever a topic ends like before the hour, and do we squeeze it in? So I'm going to knock it out, and then we got an hour of ad-free gamified. It's time to give a massive shout out to the true MVP behind the scenes, Avalanche, the official blockchain of gamified. While others are busy banging their heads against the wall trying to make their blockchains work, Avalanche has cracked the code with Avalanche 9000, making deploying your very own layer 1 smoother than ever before. But why stop with just any blockchain when you can have your very own with Avalanche? You're not just playing someone else's game, you're setting your very own rules, and it's not just a pipe dream. This is the reality that Maple Story, Solo Leveling, T1 Esports, Off the Grid, and more are already living. They're creating their own custom tailored gaming experiences on their very own Avalanche L1s, free from the usual developer headaches. So thanks to Avalanche for being the official blockchain of gamified. And as we reach the midway journey of our galactic mission, it's time to highlight an essential part of your gaming arsenal is StarNet. StarNet, the next generation ad network powering $100 billion spent on user acquisition. If you're looking to do UA for mobile games on Android or iOS, StarNet can boost you into the spotlight. Thank you to StarNet for being the official infra of gamified. And of course, gamers, put down the Mountain Dew and listen to this. With a GDP totaling $21 million, this game is already a small country. Star Atlas' economic engine is already up and running, but they're not just about numbers, they're about impact, proven whenever over 1,700 eager players attended their Impact Summit in Singapore to see them setting the standard for player-owned universes. Star Atlas is all about player empowerment, as demonstrated by their recent Golden Carnival, a mind-blowing $4 million giveaway, proving they reward those brave enough to explore the stars. We actually just pinned that up. If you want to get involved in the Golden Carnival, make sure you check that out, as well as if you're interested in StarNet or Avalanche, you can find them up on the top of our show as well. Thank you to Star Atlas for being the official game of gamified. Oh, sounds so good. And I want to give a huge shout out to the Wolves DAO as well. And what we're doing in Manila, we're bringing some of the best creators together to make a ton of content over an entire week in Manila, and culminating in the Games GG award show Friday of next week. Super, super, super excited for that. Shout out to YGG for bringing everybody together. Okay, we're going to jump into InfiniGods and whether or not they cracked the code on play to airdrop and making it less extractive for people who don't really care about your game, okay? InfiniGods took a different approach to the recent play to airdrop event for King of Destiny, their mobile game that's on the hyper casual side. They said you needed to be VIP level 1, so essentially you had to play a certain amount and earn enough XP to be able to participate in this play to airdrop event. If you only just started playing the game, you needed to spend about $50 to get caught up in order to be able to get that VIP 1 to qualify. This created a barrier of entry for Sybils and farmers coming in after the event was already announced, while rewarding the early adopters who didn't need to spend anything to qualify. The end result was 66,000 players participating in this tournament, but only 680, qualified for God tokens, so about 1%. What's my panel's take on this? Did they reward too few people, or was this the right approach to actually get the airdrop in the hands of the true fans that have been playing the game for a while, or were at least willing to open up their wallets to get to that stage? Lems, over to you, bud.
All right, I'll preface this by saying, like, disclaimer, I have bags, and the reason I say that is because, I have a lot of conviction in this team, and that's why I have bags. But, like, I really like this approach. I thought it was very novel and different from what we've seen in a lot of play to airdrop campaigns, where it's, people doing civil, like spinning up as many accounts as they can, seeing how much they can extract out of it. And I thought this strategy was really interesting because they've had the game live for probably close to a year now, and it would have been probably a few weeks. I don't know the exact time it would have taken you to get to that VIP 1, but it meant there was no spend barrier for anyone who was already interested in the project and had been playing the game. And you could have just come in and participated in this, which I really liked. But then, hey, they announce this event and they announce God rewards. We know like what happens when you announce token rewards. Something people are like, oh, how much do I farm this and how can I do it? But by creating this barrier, and then like, hey, you have to actually spend $50. And all of a sudden, like that, like just gets rid of so many of the bot accounts, civil accounts, everything else that would just try and farm it out for extraction. And they end up rewarding like the true believers who actually believe in the game, who are actually spending money in the game, which again is good for their revenue. I was actually surprised it was as low as the 680 or whatever it was on people getting rewarded. I actually expected it to be a bit higher. So I'm not sure how they feel on that target, but I know as a team, they believe in the whole like reward your core community. And what people sometimes call the Axie effect, right? By evangelizing your community, basically, you're helping them make a bag and they do well from it, then they're going to be loud about it, and people are going to all talk about like how much GOG rewards they got from the campaign, right? Like that already started to happen. You saw it all over Twitter. So then they get this like earned, quote unquote earned marketing. Like they're kind of paying for it because they're giving these GOG rewards out in the token, but you get a lot of like attention on the timeline. So I think overall, like really well executed. It was nice to see a novel outside the box idea. But yeah, caveat biased because of my bags, and but you should go play King of Destiny.
Yeah, great take there. I also have some InfiniGods NFTs, so disclaimer there, but I won't take a side on this one. Gaspode, over to you. How do you feel about it? Was 1% too few to reward, or is it a great thing because all those people are celebrating an undiluted airdrop for once for a P2A campaign?
I'm going to try and not get stuck down too many tangents. At this point, with my other hat on, working with Hoya, the gaming strategist, I've designed 5 play to airdrops that we've done, and they've all iterated on each other. And I think the biggest thing is kind of what are they trying to achieve. And I think the pay to play to airdrop is really good for their aim of rewarding the core community. Like I did a piece saying it was a pay to play to airdrop, and everyone was like, "Oh, but you could do it for free." And I was like, "Yeah, for most people who've already been playing it. For anyone else, you're buying in at this point for VIP." And I was going to, and then I forgot what the dates were, and I didn't do it, and I completely forgot because I was an idiot. But I like it. I think games are now starting to see more ways of trying to limit who gets rewards from their airdrops because the number of farmers are so big at this point that if you reward everyone, then everyone hates it because it's rubbish. And if you only reward those who paid to come in, if you gate it behind skill, if you gate it behind NFTs, maybe you gate it to only the top 1,000, 2,000 people who score points, then people will cry. Some people will upset. And this is going to sound mean, but the majority of them will be low value users for you because they didn't interact enough in some way. So if they're upset, meh, I'm not overly bothered by it. We've just seen the noob airdrop, and the timeline seems pretty happy with what happened, but their Discord is absolute carnage with people upset that they got a $15 airdrop and they're now paying $20 in gas to try and get it out on ETH. So those people probably weren't the right community for the game in the first place. Whereas the timeline of people who are more interested in staking it, it's probably the core community for them. One learning from there is obviously is why is anyone doing an airdrop on ETH in 2024? But no, I like the idea of paying to get into an airdrop to limit the numbers of it. But again, it depends on what the game's trying to achieve. If it's their first thing, they're trying to get reach, which Kings of Destiny didn't really need to do, then they probably don't want to gate it in that way. Maybe they need to think of some other gates to kind of restrict the usage to what they're actually trying to reach.
Great takes across the board there, Gaspo. Jerry had the hand up next, then we'll go to Michael O'Connor.
Yeah, these guys are awesome, dude. And I listen, my love for them is no secret. And Gaspo, just as somebody who works closely with them, it's not too late because they are doing another they're doing like a season 2 for their campaign on the 18th. It starts. So yeah, I mean, I think this is amazing in so many different ways, but like it shows that they have some chops as to how to actually one of the great mysteries of some of these web3 games is how are they going to get people to spend money so the business can keep its lights on. And I think getting people to spend $50 to earn these magic internet tokens that are going to come later and very likely more than $50 is I think it's just really good business practice for like what Web3 can allow you to do. So, they're bringing in money for the business. They're going to give out tokens later. Most of us probably think that that's going to be at a higher dollar value than the $50 that you had to spend to unlock this. And I'm a little surprised to hear there was only 660-ish people or whatever. But they have a lot of people playing the game who I think maybe organically earned their way into this airdrop because their retention numbers are pretty solid as well. So I think this is a really good way for people who've sat and done the napkin math. And like, I've just trusted people smarter than me who've done the napkin math, know that this team is too smart and too tapped in to let this airdrop be a $15 airdrop or a couple coffees type airdrop. They've released a bunch of the numbers. I think it's like seven. Lems might have to correct me here, but it's like 17% going to some of these like NFT holders and early players of the game. So I think if you're tuned in, if you're a team that's like really tuned into what the Web3 landscape is currently doing and the trends that are happening, and you see other teams making mistakes, you know how to iterate and pivot little things to make sure that what you're going to be doing is a success. So I think this is just across the board a huge win for King of Destiny, and it's like why I think a lot of us have pretty decent sized bags of their NFTs and why we're spending our time pursuing the airdrop that they're doing. And like I don't really do a ton of airdrops. I don't really have the time for it, but I made sure to like log into King of Destiny a couple times every day and do everything because I have faith in this team to ship. And I think you'll see a common theme. I think everybody who spoke on this topic already has said that. Yeah, I have the NFTs. I like what these guys are doing. I have no doubt in my mind that they're going to make sure that this is worth our time. Yeah, and I think this is just a huge win across the board. And I'm shocked that they don't get more love and credit from on the timeline. Like they get a lot, and I think it's still not enough for how good and smoothly these guys operate.
Yeah, they have a quality that I've seen in a lot of my favorite organizations that have been around for the last 2 or 3 years, which I think is patience. I mean, Michael O'Connor represents patience in a lot of ways as well on this panel today. And I think, Koji and Sinjin do as well. I think that there's a lot that is rushed out in this space because people want to hit narratives. They want to be when the meta is just right and the attention is whatever. And it's like, real people building real projects just focus on their product. And if the meta lines up, then great. But if it doesn't, it's not the end of the world because they built a product that's good enough to hopefully be sustainable in any meta. Let's go over to Michael O'Connor on that note, then we'll tag in Koji.
I've been called a lot of things. Patient, I don't think is one up until this moment, but I'll take that. Thank you very much, Sam. Listen, I think that the InfiniGods team, I don't know them well, but they look great from what I have seen. David over there seems to have, I've shared a few panels with him, and he seems to have a really good grounding in games, particularly strong in mobile. And looks like a great team. I think it's been cool to see how they manage their community from, all of this is from a little bit of a distance. And other people have clearly thought that too, because they've gotten some really, really strong investors. I think Pantera, one of the most prestigious investors in the space, were one of the main backers, and with considerable backing, I would say. So they're obviously doing something right. When it comes to this kind of play to airdrop stuff, I think it's important to remember how massive this is for us when we're building it, for the communities that we're building for. You have to assign such a substantial amount of your token to let's call it community in a very broad sense. But the truth is, you don't know who the fuck most of these people are, right? You try to learn about them over time. You try to bring them in as players. But really, you get a lot of people that are grinding in. You get a lot of weird actors, and ultimately, what you're really trying to do is you're trying to make sure that people aren't going to flip and collapse the token. That's one of the things. You're really hoping that people aren't just going to keep flipping, and then you've got some downward price pressure to deal with on day one. So one of the ways to do that has been, like some people, the vibe was you just sign up and you get the token. That's like traditional old crypto. In games over time, we found ways to gamify that. You've seen the amount of these, what they call social questing, where people, follow this person and click this Twitter thing and, do these kind of menial actions. And that's what, gives you the right to get this kind of community allocation of the token. And that's been pretty boring and stuff like that. And these idea of play to airdrop is a really cool way to actually go, well, hold on, why don't you jump in and play our game? And there's an incentive to go in and actually play the game. We learn about the game by you guys playing and stuff like that. So there's this kind of duality to it. There's this kind of support structure in place that works. As well, those folks come in and they connect their wallet. So you're able to learn about the historical behavior. You're able to kind of run wallet analysis and go, you know what, these people have a good track record of not collapsing tokens, and this is really, really important data for us to know before we go into TGE, because we want to make sure that the token, anyone wants to make sure that the token has the best opportunity and success. So how can you ensure that these people are the right people? Of course, you want to reward community. You want to reward people's time. If that's that's a legitimate thing that they've put in, and you can say that they've got some value that they can derive from that. And people are obviously there's always going to be people pissed off. It's unavoidable. People will be pissed off. You're going to be the bad guy to loads of people, no matter what. But it's a really interesting way to actually get people to if people buy inside of the game. Well, that's actually, what that says to me? It says conviction. From day one, if people are in there and in early builds and they're like, you know what, I'm actually going to take a shot at this in-app purchase because I think that there's some value in it. That says to me that you've got a lot of conviction as a user for the thing that I'm building. And that means the chances are you're probably going to be around for longer. So I think that InfiniGods in the campaign that they put together, as well as other teams, have realized that. So fair play to them.
Fair play indeed. Koji, what you got?
Yeah, I mean, I think that airdrop is amazing because it at the very least gets people to try the product that maybe wouldn't have, and then rewards the people that already do. I also think gating it behind something, like some kind of buy-in, makes a lot of sense because you want to really weed out botting and bad actors and all this stuff. But can we just have a sobering view for 1 second of some of the shit that we're saying, which is just these guys are fucking geniuses because they're give me $50 right now, then play our game, and we're going to give you magic beans. And I promise you, well, they're not promising, but we're suggesting that they might be worth more later. It's what geniuses? Give me money and I'll give you more later. That's going to be my marketing slogan from now on, because I think, everyone here seems to like it, and the space definitely seems to fucking love it. So why not just do that? I think that to be all jokes aside, obviously we want people in and playing the games, but if everyone's fully just token focused, I think we're just gonna be fucked, man, because there's no way that anyone outside of our sphere is gonna take this seriously. Now obviously we're the user acquisition part of this is we're enticing Web3 users, but at some point we gotta break out of this I don't know, obsession with tokens and whatever else, because, or maybe we don't. I mean, Trump fucking won the election, so maybe crime is legal now. Let's just fucking go crazy.
I'll gladly give you $50 for more in Prime, Koji. Can you just sign me up for that,
Yeah,
please?
dude, I disagreed with him one time last week, and he fucking called me an idiot in front of everybody, man.
Those Canadians are so nice. Koji embodying his nation. Missy, over to you. What is going on with Mizzy? He's fucking a mime.
Yo, hello.
Hello.
Yeah, I didn't hear anything. You cut out on the last sentence, and then I heard my name.
No.
All right, cool. So I think there's a duality to the statement. I think, it's great for the players that play the game, and they're retaining the players that enjoy playing their game, and they're feeling pretty well rewarded. I don't think any lazy farmers went after this one, but I do think that this kind of reminds me of the early beginnings of the whitelist meta in 2021. How much crazier does it get from here? Not particularly with InfiniGods, but I think this sets a precedence for a new meta potentially, where like OG said, pay me $50, you might get some more money later. How extreme does that number get? How higher do the tasks get? that ends up kind of burning your core player base as well. Obviously, it gets rid of all the annoying extractors and shit. But I do think that we could be like dancing on a slippery slope where it ends up potentially creating a meta that we necessarily didn't want, and does harm like other games that try copying the meta and doing their own spin on it. So yeah, I would say like InfiniGods is a very special case because they already had like a passionate user base. You know, they have high retention. But I don't think this is a meta that every game should copy, because I know that everyone else is probably going to end up fucking it up in one way, shape, or form. So please, like, try to be innovative and come up with your own shit. But yeah, W for InfiniGods.
Also, I just want to clarify that I know that I'm fully a hypocrite, because if you attach a JPEG to that $50 purchase, then we're all fine with it, and
Yeah.
including parallel. So, like, you know, I'm
Thank you.
just as guilty.
I love the self-awareness, man. It's okay. We still love you. We're going to move on to something that's a little bit heady. Okay, so I need you guys to stick with me. I'm going to try my best to read this off in a way that is pretty absorbable. But essentially, this is part of the reason that I really wanted Michael O'Connor on the show today. And shout out to Jackal, a great Wolves DAO member who also works for Delphi Digital and is part of the Wolves DAO. I guess that was redundant. He said in a tweet, 100% of the top 20 grossing social casino games on mobile have a web store. So a web store is basically a PWA, basically something outside of the App Store, which allows them to circumvent the 30% App Store fees. On top of 100% of the top 20 social casino games, having a web store, 80% of the top strategy games also have a web store, and 75% of the top 20 action games also have a web store. Note that these are all games based in the US market. And Michael O'Connor, in this kind of tweet back and forth, also chimed in with additional reasons why he feels like this is inevitable. He said the cost and success rate of user acquisition is only getting worse in the current state of mobile performance marketing. Web stores and progressive web app solutions allow you to circumvent those app store fees that I talked about. 30% of every transaction gets taken right now by Google and Android. Android and iOS, Apple. And of course, browser games avoid terms and conditions that also sometimes make it impossible for blockchain to be integrated into games in the current state of the regulatory market, among other things. So, agree or disagree with Michael and Jackal saying that web stores are inevitable for mobile games going forward? Is this going to be something that we see evolving to the point that everybody has them, because bare minimum, you might as well have a way that people could buy your assets without taking a 30% haircut on everything? Or is this a ton of extra work that ends up, bloating costs and development and everything in between? Lems, I'm going to send it over to you first, buddy.
Oh man, just put me on the spot here and let me try to figure out the hard answers. I think this is also like super interesting. We've seen a lot of evolutions with PWA over the last little bit. It still feels like it's not widely used. We are seeing more and more apps use it, and I think it's a good way to get around app stores because you can now actually have the shortcuts on your home screen, and it feels like an app to the user. The downside is you're losing discovery of the app store. That's the big downside there. But like for us in Web3, like having web stores just feels like it's almost mandatory because of the 30% app fee and all the BS, regulatory stuff, which maybe that'll start to loosen up over time, but still losing 30% on your bottom line is a pretty heavy cut to come from. Goddamn, I'm going to just like shill InfiniGods again now, just because I actually like the experience. But this is not just me shilling my bags. What they have done, I think, is really good balance, where you can get the app on the App Store, download the app, and they get that native discovery. And then they have a marketplace that when you click into it, it still kind of feels like you're actually within the app, but it's actually redirecting you in a browser, and it's PWA. And all of a sudden, you're not like subject to all the BS around web, like App Store restrictions, where you can't have like crypto payments, you can't have like whatever kind of rules they have in their TOS that you're scared of like breaking. You can avoid all that stuff and have things that are set by your own rules. You don't get this big 30% cut off the top. So it seems to make so much sense. I was actually shocked by those stats Jackal shared, though, like that there's actually so many people doing it already. So it shows that there's already a shift in direction, because honestly, like when you take a step back and look at like how much Google and Apple have made over the last like 10 years or whatever with these like 30% cuts, it's pretty absurd. And it's actually surprising that it's taken this long to kind of disrupt that whole meta that has happened. And we're seeing like even the laws in the EU where they're basically forcing Apple now to have like competing app stores, so they don't just have a total monopoly on it. So I'm really glad to see this shift. But honestly, I'm actually kind of surprised it took so long to get here. And then on the same note, though, I'm also kind of shocked that so many are using it already and it's not really being talked about enough because like those percentages that Jacko shared are pretty wild.
Yeah, the numbers were pretty jaw-dropping to me because I know we had a little bit of a PWA meta where people thought that this was going to be a direction that people moved in Web3, specifically to circumvent the App Store, limiting the amount of blockchain integration you can have in games that are listed there. But now it seems like the list of reasons for why you might do this is piling up higher and higher. Jerry, over to you. Then we're going to tag in Michael O'Connor.
Yeah, I think you're a little silly if you aren't looking at like web shops. Um, just for the simple fact that like 30% of a sale is significant, and needing to sell something for $1.40 to make $1 is not good for a business. And I mean it's obvious, right? Almost everybody that's a big player is using them. Um, and I think it's just by necessity, right? And even when you look at like I was trying to upgrade my Spotify play like account recently, and like you can't do it on the app. You have to go like log in on your computer and do it for these reasons, right? And so it's not just a gaming thing, right? It's just apps that have a lot of money flowing through them. It makes sense to like 30% when you're talking at scale like that is a giant number, right? Jackal's tweet was like a little confusing to me though, because he was talking about like almost two different things. Like, and maybe this is a different discussion, but PWAs as like the future home of like mobile gaming, like I'm very largely unconvinced of that. And Jackal kind of made a yeah, it almost felt like that tweet was talking about two separate things in the same like really short tweet. And yeah, I don't know that like PWAs are the future of mobile gaming by any means. Well, web shops, you should do them. And
Yeah,
sorry,
Owen.
sorry, I know I keep muting and unmuting. Like, there's companies out there that make that pretty easy to do, right? Xsola, there's a bunch out there that like can make that a pretty seamless thing. They have fee structures and stuff too. So
Owen from InfiniGods also adds 20% of their payments for the King of Destiny played an airdrop campaign that we were just talking about were driven via their Web3 web store. Great and simple utility for all players. Buy in-app purchases 30% cheaper than via the app. Just use the native token to make the purchase. So they're using this as both a reason to engage with the token, giving people a discount, and also finding some success with it early on. Let's go over to Michael O'Connor, and then we'll tag in Koji.
Yeah, for me, it's just like, why would you not control your point of sale? Why would you not, like in a world where loads of people are doing that, why would you not? So the ivory tower of, Google Play and the App Store is falling, and it's about time. It's been like one of the greatest digital hustles of all time. And it's about time it crumbles. It's happening in front of our eyes. I think it is anyway. The Epic Store was one massive beat forward. I think Microsoft are going to come in and do something similar. That's going to change things dramatically, considering like when we think about the kind of mobile games they bring to the table with, King, Candy Crush, Minecraft, stuff like that. What happens when, if they're taken out of that ivory tower? This landscape is changing, and it's changing for good reason because of like loads of business necessity. UA has just punished and destroyed mobile gaming, particularly over the last 5 years. And there's some really surprising numbers, which really drives my thinking on this, right? When you download something, once it's downloaded with free to play, like 25% of people actually open it. That's pretty small. So there's so many hoops to jump through. And inside of a browser-based experience, whether it's a shop or PWA, whatever you want to do, you're able to click a button and bang, you're straight into it. That is an incredibly non-frictionless way to bring people into video games. Like the historical reason that people weren't really bullish on this was because, well, browser experiences, well, they had like pretty significant problems, in particular with retention. It was really hard to retain players, and there was no normality in the idea that you would play inside of a browser experience. But really, you couldn't retain players. Why? Because you couldn't send them notifications. There was no shiny little app on their kind of on the front of their screen. That's changed. And it's actually on iOS only changed in the last, I think, 6 to maybe 9 months. So there's been a technological change, which is really having a massive impact. The other technological change is what's happening with WebGL. So I won't go into too much of the nerd stuff on this, but like basically you can create 3D games inside a browser now. And you weren't really able to do that to the same level as you are now. The distribution opportunity is absolutely massive. So I think that it's ultimately, I don't want to go as far as to say like it's inevitable that everyone does this, because I don't like those kind of statements. I always think that there's multiple ways for people to do things inside of games, multiple different ways for games to distribute and to connect to different audiences. But the opportunity that exists now is really, really, really interesting. I think probably as interesting as like anything that we've seen in some sense over the last 10 years from a business perspective anyway. So that's why I feel so bullish, but I don't want to go too overboard here that it's like everyone has to look at this or else it's game over. That's not it. But I do believe this is a massive incoming wave. And I think that the developers who are looking at that wave coming are going to be in an advantage.
Seems hard to deny that. I guess I'm still curious on what it actually costs to be able to put together one of these stores. Is it as simple as just building a website that's mobile optimized and having its own shop?
Yeah, it's actually, well, you can work with middleware solutions out there. So there was also that problem that like, well, how am I going to go and build that whole thing? And how am I going to manage that whole thing? But actually, there's tons of solutions out there now. So for developers who are interested, and then check out AppCharge. You can circumvent the 30% App Store fees, which essentially mean that you have to spend, like what that means just for everyone is that as a developer, you have to sell $1.43 worth of something to get $1 back. And the other 43 cents goes to Apple or Google. So yeah, check out something like AppCharge if you want to basically just circumvent that and build a pretty powerful web-based store for yourself and your mobile game.
All right, thanks for the clarity there. Koji, over to you, bud.
Yeah, first of all, I guess I'm just the resident, like, miserable motherfucker, but you just gotta, like, meet players where they are sometimes as well, and I'm all for building web stores. I mean, we at Parallel do it for certain, because like these things can change on a dime. You don't want your entire business model being you don't want to be beholden to the whatever terms of service that the App Store or the Play Store want to give you. But I also think that there's something to hitting the users at home, so to speak. And it wasn't that long ago on this very show that we were like, fucking, this Web3 game is being listed on Steam. We're so back, man. Everyone, like, it's fucking Web3 is inevitable. And now we're like, yo, we got to escape the shackles of these marketplaces. Fuck them. You know, I think that, like, our sentiments kind of turn on a dime here. And it's a little bit crazy that, like, we can all talk about how important it is to get listed on whatever, Steam or Epic, but in the same breath be like, yo, the App Store and the Play Store are kind of fucked up. Now, obviously, I don't want companies taking money out of my pocket, but I also think there's something to be said that, like, there's a level of trust implicit in something listed in one of these marketplaces. I mean, it's kind of diminishing now, but it is still there. And there's also like a implied level of quality. And now I'm not suggesting that it, like, because Michael makes some amazing points about how web games have come so far. In fact, like, you can go to a website and play Parallel on a website now, which is crazy. But it's the same sort of mentality. Like, you go to, I keep using concerts as an example because that's just how I grew up. But like, as a band, if you gave someone your CD for free, you gave out 100 of those CDs, 99 of them are just going to end up on the ground. But if you get them to pay $1 for it, everyone fucking is going to keep it. And I'm just saying that, like, right now the mentality of like a game in a browser for a lot of people is like you giving it away for free, and their willingness to even spend for a browser-based thing, I guarantee you, is going to be vastly different than something that they have to download from a marketplace and run and play. So, I mean, that's just something to keep in mind. But I'm all for things trending in that direction because I do like money in my pocket. So
Money in the pocket is a good thing. We're going to move on. Thanks for getting into that heady stuff. This one a little bit more jovial, but still sort of a game design question here. Pokemon TCG Pocket players are convinced that they know how to find packs with top tier cards inside them. Okay, this theory was posted on a Japanese forum that card packs with a bent corner had a much higher chance of containing rare cards. And it is kind of rare. Like 10% of all card packs seem to have this like little bent corner. Are you a believer that the Pokemon Company would actually put something like this in the game, alluding to which packs had the rarest cards inside of them before you opened it? Or are people just coping because they really like to have some semblance of control? If it's for real, or if it is for real, why would developers include something like this in their game? Would be the next follow up question. Koji had the hand up first.
yeah, I'm driving, or I would send out the thing that I read, but I read a long Reddit post somewhat debunking this theory, where you get to the pack opening screen. I think you go into like airplane mode, or do you disconnect from the internet or whatever, and then when you log in again, the cards just appear in your account, and it's a bit more nuanced than that, but basically they were just trying to show you that like before you even get to the card opening screen, the cards that you get are predetermined for you, so it doesn't matter which pack you open on the screen; it's just the same fucking cards. But I love the idea that people are like, "Yo, I found the secret hack, and this is what it is," and it may just be that like when you see a bent corner pack, it just means that like the cards that you got on that opening screen maybe are like rare or whatever, but like I don't think it matters which pack you actually open, because otherwise it would be, well, I guess it doesn't really matter in that game. But anyway, someone Google Reddit Pokemon pack debunk whatever, you'll find it, and it's a pretty interesting read how these nerds figured this shit out.
Damn, just like that, you fucked the whole topic up, Koji. I was hoping it was in fact real and we could debate whether or not it was a ploy to get a bunch of people to buy card packs before they patched it or something, because that was the theory going around
But
our Twitter circles.
but hold on, let's just imagine that it isn't real, but like let them perpetuate that rumor so that people buy the fucking card packs. It still works. It's fucking amazing.
Hey, maybe. Okay, so we're just supposed to put in tiny details and then give people the illusion of optionality and then let them do the rest for us. That's big brain meta thinking. Let's go over to Gaspo, then Jerry.
100% fake, and it doesn't matter. It's predetermined when you go to opening the pack. There's even like a skip button where you can skip through to start opening the pack if you really don't want to get too involved in it. I think the reasoning is just common gambling mentality. So for anyone who's spent time in a pub, they might not even have them these days. Actually, I'm probably going to date myself a bit. Where they got the fruit machines, you feel like you're making active choices. You feel like you're kind of involved, but for the majority of the time, the payout is already being decided. Like you'll be looking around the corners, you'll be looking up and down, you'll be doing the deal or no deal, trying to work it out. For the most part, the amount is already decided already, but the illusion of choice is what it makes you feel like you're in control. So you feel like you are having an impact on the gambling more than you actually are. So giving that tiny little detail for you to go to look at, you feel like you're doing it. And if you do your full carousel and you don't find a corner, you're like, oh, next time, maybe I've missed it. And you'll go around again. And you've got more time out of just your pack opening because you've just been spinning this card around, been trying to find a different corner. I think they've just taken a leaf out of traditional kind of gambling mechanics to make people feel like they're more involved than they are, so that they come back and do it more.
Jerry, any unique thoughts? Or are you in fuck? I can't even think of the word. Do we all agree?
Yeah. Yeah, I think we're all in agreement. But like this shit's been in gaming like since forever, you know? Like, do you remember ever playing a game and then your friend would be like, got this thing, and he'd be like, dude, I held B the whole time, like the gift was opening or whatever. And then you'd like try to do it and be like, man, I still get fucking bullshit ass cards. Like, why did you get something super cool? Like, yeah, it's always been around, and yeah, it's like this illusion that you know, people have control over it. Something ramble for a while, VRF and Web3 can fix these things, but those things would be no fun because you want to think that you did influence, right? So sometimes Web3 doesn't fix shit. Sometimes Web3 takes the fun away.
Consensus was the word I was looking for. I finally got there. And spamming B whenever you throw a Pokeball on red and blue, I swear to God, did actually make the Pokeball have a higher
Oh, see
chance
what I
of
mean?
succeeding.
See what I
I
mean?
swear, dude. It's fact, okay? It's fact. All right, we move on. Our last topic of the day is going to be what's the word for Call of Duty Black Ops 6 breaking records? Black Ops 6 just launched and it's breaking records for Game Pass subscriptions. That's no surprise because you could get a $60 game for like a $15 subscription. But it also set a record for the highest total number of players, highest total hours played across the series in the first 3 days. This makes it the biggest launch in the franchise's history. They also surpassed 500 million copies of Call of Duty sold across all of the franchise ever, making the series one of the best-selling games alongside like Tetris and Pokemon, some of these huge names. These numbers mean it's also achieved a 60% increase in sales over Modern Warfare 3, the last release, on PlayStation and Steam as platforms. And then people are also talking about the fact that it's blowing up in China right now. They've finally kind of broken into this Western market. So, what is the word for Call of Duty, the unstoppable behemoth, seemingly being even more unstoppable and more of a behemoth? Let's go to Koji.
I mean, I think the word is inevitable, to steal a word from you, Sam. I think that, like, we're seeing a trend just generally. I mean, Call of Duty is just another example of another game that's come out and broke records. You know, we can talk about Wukong, we can talk about all these other fucking games. And it really is like, I talk to people a lot about how I think gaming has become this one of the central cultural touch points of, you know, this generation. Because, like, there was a time when, you know, everyone was watching fucking Who Shot JR or, you know, The Dark Knight or whatever. Like, people were going to movies or watching shows and it was ubiquitous. Like, everyone was watching the same shit and that's what you would talk about. But now we don't really have that anymore. No one's really listening to the same music. No one's really watching the same TV shows. I mean, Game of Thrones maybe was like the last time we had like a true like water cooler TV show, or maybe Succession or something. And I think that, like, to take the place of all that stuff now is gaming, and Call of Duty is just like another example of it. It just shows you that there's even more gamers, even more appetite for all this stuff than there ever was. I mean, growing up, you know, people would look down on you if you fucking played video games. You're just like some fucking like indoor kid nerd. And now it's like, if you don't play video games, people are like, this is like, you know, there's something wrong with this kid. So I think it just shows that, like, you know, hopefully we're all working in the right industry.
Let's tag in Mizzy. It's been a minute. What's the word for Call of Duty's dominance, Mizzy?
Hatred, man, hatred. I think I've never seen a game hated more, right? But it's like working for them because obviously it's marketing it really well. So maybe you get people to fucking hate your game and you'll break every record like known to man in gaming.
Jerry, do you agree?
I don't at all. I think the word is receipts. Because if I remember a couple weeks ago on this show, you guys all told me nobody wants Call of Duty, but the world's fucking telling you that people want Call of Duty fucking endlessly. And like I always say, time proves me right, motherfuckers. I just don't see how we can say that this is a game that people hate. It's clearly a game people love and they want to play it in droves, and it's gonna have staying power. Like Black Ops 6 isn't gonna, it's not gonna spike and then go away. Like, people are gonna be playing this game for till the next one, and then you know what? That one will be bigger. And I don't know. Like, I think this is a really interesting thing to come up after we talked about first person shooters a couple weeks ago and how it's such a scary place to be building in, and how we all respect people who want to, you know, build shooters to compete with this, but how do you outcompete them? I don't think you can. I mean, it's just such a storied franchise and it's just getting bigger and bigger. It's on the same level of GTA. Like, it's not going anywhere and it's going to continue to grow. And hats off to them, man. The game looks great.
Let's send it over to Dub.
Yeah, bro, give me the fucking receipts, dog. Evergreen market is what it is. Like, shooters are here to stay. Black Ops on chain is freaking inevitable, is the way I feel about it. Looking forward to it. I mean, like, it makes sense to me. Like, their weapon skins are goddamn works of art right now. They're leveling up everywhere. They're not dropping the ball in anything, and at the same time, they're looked at as like this trailblazer. I was looking at their list of all their game modes, and it was like they wrote the freaking Bible on even naming game modes. So it's really interesting. Like I'm glad they're dominating personally as a fan, and I think it's just gonna continue on in their inevitability of coming on chain. What, Black Ops 7 or 8?
Michael O'Connor, what's the word?
I have a kind of a bittersweet vibe about this one, actually. Like sweet in the sense it's obviously brilliant to see, the just rampaging, storming success. But there's a certain bitterness and sadness to it as well. Over the last couple of years, we've seen so much consolidation around the big guaranteed IPs, and the big studios have focused so much on that, and they've been extremely risk averse in trying to bring out new, innovative, original IPs. And I think there's a certain sadness with that. Personally, I just, I love the idea of all that creative moment when loads of new IPs are coming out, and I think it's a result of all of the changes that have happened in the games industry, right? Like, I know we don't talk about this much on the show, but crazy mass layoffs that have affected the games industry in like just unspeakable ways almost. And when we talk about Activision Blizzard, they have, like for fans of Diablo, they've like laid off most of the Diablo team, Overwatch as well. So games like that, which are also massive IPs, let alone like the smaller IPs, Crash Bandicoot, I think is part of their kind of portfolio. So it's great to see them being successful, but I also desire gorgeous new stories and IPs and originality constantly coming out, and that's not exactly what we see from the big corporates right now.
Yeah, one of the great disappointments, and I think the reason for all that hatred is oversaturation. We're all just tired of hearing about it, and it keeps getting bigger, and the advertising keeps getting louder, and the people that love it get louder. And just like I kind of hate Taylor Swift, even though I don't really care one way or the other about her music, it's just because I don't want to hear about something I don't care about all the time. Koji, over to you, then back to Jerry.
Yeah, I mean, I say don't worry about it, man. All empires fall. Like, I mean, they've had their long day in the sun, but like, at one point Marvel movies were dominating media, right? And then it was like their TV shows, and now like it's kind of lost. People have lost their taste for it a little bit, and I think that eventually that'll happen with Call of Duty. I mean, and to go back to what Michael was saying, like I think this consolidation of IP and like studios sort of rallying behind the stuff they know will sell. We're seeing it sort of across the board here. But given enough time, I think that things will shift. It's just like hold on to the sweetness. Don't worry about the bitterness. It'll pass.
Great take, Jerry. Over to you.
Yeah, I just want to expand briefly. Sorry about my dog. About like why it's so hard to outcompete Call of Duty, and like there are three giant studios that work on Call of Duty at any given time, right? And they cascade like their releases, and um, that's just such a hard machine and beast to compete with and try to outdo. But like Koji actually nailed it, and like for every Black Ops 6, which is looking like it's going to be one of the better titles in the franchise, there's also an Advanced Warfare that was fucking awful and everybody hated, right? And so much of gaming is just being in the right place at the right time. Koji kind of talked about this earlier about the parallel story and how they just happened to release a bunch of things at the right time, and that worked really well for them. There will be a day when the franchise releases like two to three bad titles, and the team that's in the right place at that time, that's building something new and innovative, and coming to market with a new IP, will totally benefit and have their day in the sun, right? So that's going to happen. Who knows when? I mean, I think Call of Duty is starting to get fatigued. I think this, hot take here, I think this might be like the last giant Call of Duty release. But yeah, I mean, so much of gaming is luck and right place, right time, and that day will come, and I think it'll be within the next 5 years or so.
The problem and the great moat that Call of Duty has created for themselves is for every two mid Call of Duties, there's always a Treyarch one coming to save the day 3 years later. So it doesn't seem like they can miss 3 times in a row. We're gonna move on to the MVPs of the panel. Got to get those votes in. A couple people already had to drop. Shout out to Steve Wade and God, man, my memory is terrible right now. I haven't been getting sleep because we have to go to Manila, and the preparation has been absolutely kicking my ass. But for all those people left, Dub, who's your MVP of the episode? You can't say yourself.
I'm going to give it to Jerry. Great take, Jerry.
The Jer Bear. Jerry, who you got, bud?
I'm actually gonna go Koji. Koji is the fucking man, and I love that he gives a lot of really sombering takes. Koji is more of an optimist than he lets on, but it's I always appreciate when people can keep things in perspective. So Koji really played his part really really well today.
Gaspo, what about you, bud?
I am going to go with my boy Jerry.
The Jer Bear. Koji, who's your MVP?
Yeah, I'm going Jerry too. This is an olive branch because I don't want to shit all over all of his takes. I love him, so I'm gonna give him MVP. But it's just fodder for me to just complain about other shit. So he'll always be my MVP.
The bartering for MVP votes has begun. Mizzy, over to you.
I gotta say, I really like Koji's takes, man. They kind of felt like my consciousness or something. It was really
good. Michael O'Connor, who you got?
Jerry smashed it out of the park today with great articulate thoughts and the usual good vibes. So yeah, Jerry all the way.
And Lems, what about you, bud?
Let's show some love to Gaspo. We haven't had him on the show in forever, so yeah, shout out Gaspo. You get my MVP.
All gas, no brakes, but Jerry wins the MVP of the episode. Jerry, what do you want to shill, bud?
Hey, well, a quick shill for stuff we're doing. Yeah, now's a good time to spend money on marketing, people. So hit up your local agency. Take advantage of it while it's hot. It's a good time to be putting out Web3 releases right now. So all of you teams that need help, doesn't have to be uptick, but now's the time to unload some marketing spend. I would much prefer if you do spend it on uptick, but the part of me that wants to see the industry win owes it to the space to say unlock the budgets here soon, boys. Other than that, vote for fucking some of these great games, some of these great creators, and pay attention to some shit going on next week because I think it's going to be a real landmark moment for the Web3 space. And there's a bunch of people and a bunch of cool organizations who are coming together to, really try to push the space forward. And I think, that's the thing that matters. At the end of the day, Sam's put together a great thing, but I think the reason we all show up is because we all love each other on the panel, but we all want to see this industry take some steps forward. And, next week's a pretty big moment for that. So pay attention, support all the people that are doing really cool shit.
Yeah, buddy, I love that, man. We wanted to have a topic today talking about the Games GG Awards, but weren't able to get to it. But let me just add to that and say you've got, I believe, 2 more days to vote if you want to vote. So, like Jerry said, go out, support some amazing games, some amazing creators. You guys have no idea how much that helps whenever it goes to fundraising or getting a budget or me securing a sponsor or some of the guys being able to quit their jobs and stuff like that because they can say, hey, I was top 30, I was top 10, whatever it ends up being. It's really, really, really impactful. You're literally changing people's lives and the trajectory of some of your favorite projects. So don't underestimate how powerful it is to just go make that Games GG account. You can even just connect a wallet. You can just connect Google. There's 17 different ways to connect things and vote. So there's no excuse for not doing it. Thanks for that reminder, Jerry. And of course, as we near the finish line of another epic episode of Gamified, it's time to pay tribute to the unsung hero of the show, Avalanche, the official blockchain of Gamified. Avalanche has been quietly revolutionizing the gaming world, making sure that anyone with a vision can turn it into reality with their groundbreaking Avalanche 9000 technology. It's never been easier, cheaper, or more powerful to employ your very own Layer 1 blockchain. The future of Web3 gaming is on Avalanche, so what are you waiting for? If you want to get in touch with the AVAX folks, reach out to me or Coop or Parker and tell them that Gamified sent you. Just like we were saying about the Games Awards, that stuff also goes a very long way. And let's give a thunderous thank you to our new Interstellar official game of gamified. You know it's Star Atlas. Star Atlas has spent the bear market building a universe, pushing Web3 boundaries and setting new standards in transparency and player ownership. With Sage, a test bed for their economy, they're already processing 3.2% of all daily transactions on Solana, a feat that's no small step. Star Atlas believes in showing, not telling, so I won't spoil 2025 for you. But go to play.staratlas.com and check out the Golden Carnival to get involved. $4 million in prizes being given away right now. And remember, with Star Atlas, you're not just a player, you are a pioneer. And of course, as we bid farewell to this wild ride, let's give one final stellar salute to StarNet, the ad tech ace leading the charge in a new era. Say goodbye to greedy gatekeepers and hello to a new network where you call the shots. It's a revolution of revenue, the future of fairness, and the ultimate upgrade to advertising. It's time to take back control of the official infrastructure of Gamified. Thank you to StarNet, and thank you to everybody that listened to me rattle that off and lose my way. Koji has the hand up. What's up, bud?
Yeah, your speech really inspired me, Sam. So I just want to say, guys, vote at the WebGG Awards and vote for Parallel so I can quit my job, please.
As clearly cashier noises, his day job working at the 7-Eleven down the street is really taking a toll on our boy. Please, for the love of God, vote for Parallel. Big shout out to the entire panel. Michael O'Connor, thank you so much for joining us, man. It's always illuminating and appreciate your time. Dub from Shrapnel, you're the best, buddy. Gaspode from What's Your Game? Make sure you check out his podcast as well. Gaspode, actually, can you plug when it is? I always miss it, but I know that it's regular and that you're an absolute fucking machine that never stops.
Yeah, so every Tuesday we do the space, and then every other Monday is an interview with a founder building the space.
What a monster. Tuesday at what time?
9 p.m. UTC.
9 p.m. UTC. Make sure you check out
What is that
Gaspode.
in American time zones?
About 5 p.m.
Yeah.
4 p.m. Eastern, Jerry, for you pleb. Come on, get good on it.
Yeah, you plebs. I knew that. Lems, of course, the co-host with the most. Jerry from Uptick. Mizzy joining us from Catalyst, the king of Catalyst coming in. It was awesome to have you. Of course, Koji from Parallel and also from 7-Eleven and also the unofficial office supplier of Gamified. I love all of you guys. We'll see you back same time, same place. We're keeping it at 4 p.m. Eastern, despite the fact that I'll be in Manila. I'm just going to wake up and you'll deal with me at potentially even less brain power than I had today. So God bless everybody that listens to that episode. We'll see you guys there. I love each and every one of you. Peace.